Scripture reading this morning is taken from Psalm 23, verses 1 through 3. This is a scripture that's well known to most of us and often committed to memory. The first three scriptures go, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake."
Start. I'm coming. That would stress you out, wouldn't it? Good morning. It's always good to be with you, and I thank you for the opportunity to be back and in our Bible class time talk about the work, and now have the opportunity to share a thought with you. I guess this is not a topic you think would happen when a missionary turns up, and you probably want to hear about what's going on in New Zealand and around the South Pacific. So today is going to be a little bit like, now we use the expression at home, I'm not sure if you do here, a game of two halves. Is that an expression you use? Some yes, some not. Okay, all right. Obviously it's a sports term. And so the idea of a game of two halves is your team comes out in the first half and I mean, they are playing the best they ever have and they're just thrashing the other team. And then you have the halftime break and they come out and it's like a different team. And they're getting thrashed. And so that's kind of, I'm going to use that metaphorically in regards to, during my class time this morning, if you were here, I had the opportunity to update you on the work and what's happening there. But during the sermon time, it's going to be completely different. A different theme, a different style. So in the class time, we did talk about and give an update of our ministries that Jill and I are involved in, working with the Bible College, working with graduates as they go home, working on various projects that can take place in the mission field, Jill developing a ministry to mentor to ladies in ministry, and those sort of interrelating ministries. Hopefully it was positive and interesting, informative and encouraging to you. All right, thank you for the nod. And you know, I've been coming long enough that you're familiar with our work and our ministries, and so I enjoy giving that update. But there's a danger. The danger is, first, geographically, we live halfway around the world. All right, so our environment is different geographically. But not just geographically. It may seem, when I get up and I present, you know, this is how God's at work in our environment and how we get to participate in that, and I give you these examples, and it's just like, it's exciting to hear that, but it's not my world here. And I don't relate to that sort of experiences here. And so that's the danger, that I can come in and share some positive, exciting news of what's happening halfway around the world, but it may not actually relate to where you're at in your Christian walk and your Christian journey here. However, we all live in a broken world. We all live in a fallen world. And in that regard, my reality is not that different to your reality and what happens for you day to day, week to week, month to month in your Christian walk. So, in the sermon, I want to do something that I've never done before. I want to be a little more open and transparent about the reality of what goes on behind the scenes, what you don't see in my life journey. I want to share what my real life is like. Probably in the past, go back a decade or more, missionaries couldn't do that because they kind of feared like, I can't actually tell them really what's going on and, might end up losing my support and you didn't always do that. But I think the world's changed and we've got a long-term relationship here and so I think we can do this and I can share with you some of the challenges, frustrations, the not so glamorous side and what goes on behind the scenes. So, to do that, I probably first need to just give you a little bit of the historical background. Jill and I have been in Tauranga at the Bible College since 1995. So I think that's 30 years that we've been working at the Bible College. Most of that time has been in a leadership function in the administration and running of the college. And well over the last 10 years, it's been the boss. I'm running the Bible College, and so the responsibility of the Bible College falls on my shoulders. Again, we have the expression, the buck stops here. It stops with me. And so that brings with it a weight and a responsibility. Some examples of that are, you have staff and the welfare of staff. Students. Most of the time, students are great. But on the odd case, you've got to deal with student issues and problems. And in the very extreme case, some really difficult situations that come up. Government regulations is the biggie. We're an accredited provider. And if you're in education, you probably know what it means administratively, to have to comply with rules, regulations, and all of that stuff. Finances, we talked about finances, the responsibility of making sure there's enough of those. About 5 years ago, we went through a restructuring because we wanted to be able to function in the future in our modern world, and we had to change the way we organised ourselves. Then, of course, COVID hits. And trying to manage COVID for a year or 18 months was just extremely difficult. So, if I'm going to be honest with you this morning, after 30 years, I'm just going to tell you I'm tired. Okay, all right, seems like this relates. Okay, I'm tired. I'm not tired of the outcomes. I'm not tired of the objective of what we're doing. I'm not tired of the, helping students to train and mature and go. I'm not tired of that, but I am tired of the weight of responsibility and the daily administration. Okay, so that's the background, so you understand where I'm coming from. At the beginning of this year, without going into the details, we just had a problematic getting started and up and running, and there were all sorts of complexities with that was just extremely difficult. And so about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago, I just said to the staff, I said, look, you need to know I'm running on empty. When the gas tank gets down to empty? And I said, that's just where I'm at the moment. And I'm having a hard time just being myself and being pumped and being able to provide what you need as a leader. So that's where I'm at. And Jill and I have to make some changes if we're going to get through this year and this decade. And Jill and I have started making those changes. So that's where we start. The following week, one of my colleagues comes to me. He's in charge of our teaching and preaching curriculum at the church. And he said, Steve, we're doing a new series on Psalm 23. Would you like to do one of them? And I'm like, yeah, right. Where am I going to fit this in? Where am I going to have the time to do that? And so I was thinking that inside. And he laid down on my desk the theme and topics for each week. And this is the one that out of all of them, I just saw this and I thought, You know, sometimes I think God has a way of joking with us. I don't have time to fit this in. I don't even want to think. I actually wrestled with it for about a week, but in the end I thought, I need this. I need this. And so I said, yes, I will do this. I might be in one of the most stressed out times of my life, but I need this. So this morning, I don't know if this is relating to you, okay? If it doesn't relate to you, I'm just pretend there's a mirror here, because I'm going to preach to myself because I need it. But let me just try and, when you look at this title, is this speaking to you? Yeah? Yeah, I'm seeing a few nods, okay? Life's just a bit difficult and a little bit tough. Okay, all right, I'm not just doing this for myself. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to tell you a long story, and then I'm going to give you a short 3-point sermon. Is that all right? You like a short sermon? Yeah. Sorry, Joe. But first, a long story. Okay. Am I speaking too fast? Is this okay? All good? All right. Okay. I'm going to give you the insight of one day of my life. I've actually written it down. This was Tuesday, the 25th of March. I guess that's 5 weeks ago. So, I come into the office. First thing I like to do is make a cup of coffee. I then sit down at the desk. It's about 8:15. And check my emails. And out of all the emails, I noticed there's an email from myself to myself. And I click on it, and it says, you may now check in for your flight to San Francisco, which is tomorrow. And I'm like, yikes. That's a month away. But the email is saying I can check in tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, surely I haven't made a mistake. And what's it going to take to get ready to go in 24 hours? And then I'm like, no, this is not right. So I take the booking codes and I put it on the Air New Zealand website, and it says, well, can't find that booking. And so I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is one of those spam messages. And so I check the internet to see what spam's going on with Air New Zealand, and there's no spam going on. And then I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. I might be flying an Air New Zealand plane, but I'm on United Airlines booking. So I look at the United Airlines booking, and it says this is no longer a valid booking. Oh, whew. Well, hang on. Why did I get an email from myself that I have a booking? And so we have made a change at the beginning of the year from Google Systems to Microsoft 365. Now, I don't know if that means anything to you guys. Yep, okay. So it's a big change in platforms that you use. And so I clicked on Calendar on 365, which I don't normally use, and here's bookings galore. I mean, there's 50 airline bookings. And what Microsoft has done, decided itself to troll my emails and put anything it wants into my calendar. And so I had active bookings, I had cancelled bookings, I had flights I just looked at but hadn't made it. They're all there. And I was like, okay, how do I get rid of those? I've got to tell the story quickly. Okay, so you go on the internet, this is how you get rid of that function. Try to do it. Step 1, fine. Step 2, fine. Step 3, doesn't work. Go back. Okay, all right, cut it short. Okay. All right, finally, disable that function. Go back to calendar. They're all there. Back to the internet. Yes, you can stop Microsoft doing that, but they're still in the system. Manually go through and delete every single one out of my calendar. Okay. 2 hours have gone by. Time for another coffee. Time for some time with the students. go back to my office. I get a phone call from the bank. I hear a few laughs, okay? Is your banking system like ours? All right, I'm sorry if you work at the bank, but bank systems have just become so... Okay. We had one kind donor who gave a significant amount of funds for the college, but he gave it a year in advance. So I'm like, don't leave it in the cheque account, put it in an investment account so we can make some money. Cut a long story short, 3 months of paperwork trying to get all of our trustees are in 3 different cities and 2 different countries. Trying to get that paperwork sorted took 3 months. Finally went into the bank with all of the paperwork, and they said, oh, your identification thingamajigs are out of date, so you need to do those. Another 2 weeks, go back into the bank with all of that paperwork, and they said, okay, we need to send this off to our anti-money laundering department to make sure it's okay. And I'm like, the money's been in your account for 3 months. It's our money, it's your bank. Where's the money laundering? Anyway, 2 weeks later, another phone call. Okay, you can come in and open the accounts. Go in to do that, takes several... Okay, hours and hours and hours wasted just trying to take money from one account and put it into another account with the same bank. All right, lunchtime, a little bit more time with the students. Last story. Back into my office. Because of all of those emails this morning that happened on that day, I just remembered, there was one booking that isn't finished for a rental car. And so I go in there to finish that. Now, I don't know if you have this problem, but I'm in New Zealand trying to book a car in the United States on a web page that's here, and it tries to charge my bank in New Zealand, and I guess somehow electronically they figure out, not sure if this is a valid transaction. And so what the bank wants to do is send a code to your phone. Do you have this? Okay, yeah. Well, my phone will not get a code. I've been into the bank 3 times to fix it. They can't fix it. It doesn't work. So I go to Jill. I said, come over here, bring your credit card. We charge the rental car on her credit card. She gets a text to her phone. We put this code into the internet, and that works, and we have the car booked. Good. Not the end of the story. 3 or 4 minutes later, she gets another text from the bank saying, suspicious alert. We think there's fraud. You need to call the bank. Another hour goes by. And so 2 hours to make one rental car booking. Okay. It's now, in New Zealand, 3:30 p.m. And I finally pick up my list of what to do today. Is this resonating with you? Have you noticed life is not as simple as it used to be? Yeah, okay. I know it used to be like ABC and you get something done, but now it takes M, and O, and often XYZ, just to get the same thing done. You're laughing, but it's not funny, is it? Are you plagued by the complexity of doing something that used to be a simple task? Yep, all right. Seeing enough nods here. Okay, guess what? We're screwed. It's the way of the world. It's what we live with. Have a nice day. It's not going to change. The world's not going to get better in this regard. I suspect it's going to get worse. In terms of the world, the society, the community that we live in, there is no solution to this. I had one lady come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, Steve, I'm glad you said you're going to stay off the internet." And I didn't say anything, but I'm just saying I can't. Everything I do with my job, just about, is based on using a computer. We're stuck with it. It's not going to get better. So the world can't help us. If it's up to me, if you know New Zealand, we've got lots of little islands in the Pacific. I'm researching where to go to live. You want to come join me? It's going to catch up. It'll go there too. We can't escape it. The world's not going to help us. The only help that we have is from the Lord. Here's your sermon for today. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. So here are your 3 quick points this morning. Number 1, it's okay to rest. Say it with me. It's okay to rest. Our society does not tell us this. Our society does not encourage this. Western civilization's worldview is to do more, be more productive, to make things better. We have to improve, we have to change, we have to do things new, we have to streamline, and all of it with less money. And so the whole system we live in creates pressure, stress, and burdens. And so as God's people, we have to fight against our society because we need to rest. And so point number 1, say it with me again. It's okay to rest. Point number 2, it's necessary to rest. Just look briefly at this psalm. In verse 3, what will God provide? I'll let you answer this. He will provide refreshment. In verse 2, where does he provide it? In green pastures and still or quiet waters. Let's just flip this upside down. If we are not in the pastures and not beside the still waters, God cannot provide rest. We have to be in these places, metaphorically wherever they are for you. We have to be there in order for God to provide the rest. So, say it with me. It is necessary to rest. Last point. It is divine to rest. Now, I'm not a Hebrew scholar. I've not studied Hebrews, okay? So I'm just looking at this in English. But in English, it says, God makes me lie down. God leads me to still waters. God refreshes me or fills me up or restores me. God. This is His divine activity on us. We're passive and God is active. God. So who are we as God's people to stop God working on us? We need to accept that rest is God's divine pleasure for us. And He wants to provide that for us. So say it with me. It is divine to rest. It's okay to rest. it's necessary to rest, and it's divine to rest. Okay, so what? So what does that mean when you walk out the doors here this morning? Short term. My wife, your spouse, probably knows you better than you know yourself. She's seen what I'm going through this year, and just the shoulders drooping, and, it's just been a difficult year, and I'm tired. And after Tuesday, the 25th of March, and I came home and told her she knew what was going on because I went and got her credit card, she said, "We are going away. No discussion, you're going away with me." And so we took 3 days to go find the green pastures and the still waters. Now, you don't have to go far in New Zealand to find that stuff. If you've been to New Zealand, anyway, it's not an advert for New Zealand. But whatever it is for you, we need, and I need, times where we get our periodic rests. Wherever that is for you, you've got to find it, and you have to do it. That was short term. Just had to do that to be able to get through. Long term, what we used to do, we used to work through our year. Now, our calendar year as a college is different from yours. Our seasons are back to front. So ours goes from February to November is our school year. And we'd work through the year, and we get to October, and Jill would say, "Right, what are we going to do for our holidays this year?" And I'm too busy, we'll worry about it later. We get to November, and then start thinking about what to do in December or January for holidays. Well, it's kind of too late. Places are booked out. They become more expensive. But that's just, unfortunately, the way that we did it. Taking those significant times of rest was an afterthought. And this year, Jill and I have flipped that upside down. And so now, we started doing this, but next year in January, we will decide when our times of rest will be. And we will plan our calendar around those significant times of rest. That's what it means for us to be able to find those places of meadows and still waters. If we don't do that, let me just skip over that point. We won't worry about that. Okay. If this lesson is relating to you in any way, at any level, if you have noticed that stress, anxiety, and burden is increasing in your life, then what we need to do is let God be in control. Now, that's kind of a flippant remark, and it's an answer to everything. What does that actually mean? I mean, we could look at 15 or 20 scriptures that talk about God being in control, submitting to Him, allowing Him to... Okay, we know all of those scriptures. But in terms of applying what we're talking about this morning, what does it mean to let God be in control? I believe means this. I need to come to terms with the fact it's okay to rest. All right? I've got to get rid of my expectations, the world's expectations, other people's expectations, and just accept it's okay to have times of rest. Not only is it okay, it is absolutely necessary to make those times of rest. And most importantly, why is that? Because this is actually God's will for us and God's design for us. It is divine for us to rest. So letting God be in control means I've got to accept, work on, and practice these things. This morning, if you've got any struggles like I've talked about this morning, if your anxiety level's up the roof, if your stress level is got to the point where you're yelling, screaming, doing things that you don't normally do, if parts of your life are reflecting these things, we're here to help. We're a family. And you've got some shepherds here who will pray for you. So if you need some help this morning, please come, talk to your shepherds, go talk to a friend, do what you need to do, and make some changes in your life. God ultimately is the source of our rest. And that applies not just to physically what we're talking about, but it applies spiritually for our souls. And if you're not at that place of rest yet in your relationship with God, then the invitation's here this morning for you to come and put Jesus on as your Lord. So if you need to respond in any way, please do so as we stand and sing together.